You ready? Okay.
Turn the music off.
I don't, Frank, you got that, because I'm after him. So I'm gonna go to this and I'll
Turn the music off.
Good evening. Good evening. Oh, all right. All right. I think you can hear me now. I am Reverend Kevin Cooper, the proud pastor of United AME Church. And I want to welcome, I got one cheer, thank you. I want to welcome you to United, to our annual Candidate Forum. We want to thank all of the candidates for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be a part of this great forum, to all of the visitors who are here to hear our candidates this evening so that they, as we travel to the polls in November, that we can make informed decisions, recognizing that our vote is our voice, and we want to stand proud and loud and be heard loud. Amen. 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 I've also been tasked to offer an invocation, so if we can assume an attitude of prayer, let us go to God. God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob, we come boldly to your throne with praise and with thanksgiving, praising you for who you are, thanking you for all that you have done and all that you continue to do in our lives. We thank you, Lord, for one more day, a day that we've never seen before and a day that we'll never see again. We thank you, Lord, for just being God and God all by yourself. So, Lord, we lift up this great nation. We pray for all of the government officials on all levels, on the national and federal level, for those officials, the state officials and the county officials and the city officials. And Lord, we ask that you will lead and guide us as we travel to the polls on November 5th. And above all, Lord, we want you to have your way, and let your will be done. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. At this time, we call on Sister Erica Williams, who will give us opening remarks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Erica Williams, and I am a current resident of Greene County. I would like to welcome you to the Candidates Forum. The organizations listed in the program are proud to support an event that emphasizes the importance of exercising our right to vote. We often think about voter registration and voter mobilization as being important, and they are. But it's even more important that we know what issues the candidates stand for. This evening, you'll have the opportunity to hear from our local candidates and hear about the issues on this year's ballot. Our moderators this evening will be Ms. Marsha Bayless, Ms. Karen Johnson-Jordan, and Ms. Atriva Vaughn. Each candidate will have 5 minutes to speak. You should have received a card to write your questions on, and those will be asked at the end of the candidate speaking. At the end of the program, you'll have an opportunity to network and enjoy light refreshments in the fellowship hall. Thank you all for coming, and welcome.
Thank you, Erica, and we're ready to begin. So we will begin this evening with the Greene County candidate remarks, And we have Mayor Sarah Mays, who will be County Commission.
I did have to walk further, didn't I? I didn't sit in the right place, I apologize. But I was already, my seat was warmed up, so. Well, thank you for having me tonight, and thank you, Pastor, for allowing us to do this evening. And I will apologize in advance. I have to leave right after this. The City Council, I'm still part of the Xenia City Council, and we are in a joint session tonight with the Xenia Township trustees. And that's taken us probably 6+ months to find an evening where all of us, or the majority of us, could come together. So I did promise them that I would come just a little bit late. So thank you for allowing me to speak first. And I do welcome questions. If you have questions, please email me. During my campaigning, my email is friendsofsarahmays@gmail.com. So if you have questions, I would love to hear from you. Happy to answer questions to the best of my ability. I have been mayor for these last few years, following after Mayor Bayless. She has been a role model to me, somebody that I have looked up to, somebody who passed the baton well to me, and taught me a lot about what it means, not just to be involved in local government, but to be a servant of your community, what it means to come together and to work hard for your community. I am born and raised here in Greene County in Xenia. In fact, right now, I literally live 1 block over. Normally, I walk over here, but with going to the next meeting, I had to drive. This is home. This is where I'm raising my family. So being involved in our local government is more than just something of interest. It's important because it's something that I'm doing for my kids, for my community. I'm very involved in my church. I have been involved there. Really, we've been there since before I was born. That's my family. And it's important to be connected to your community in that way. I went to Cedarville University, worked there for some time, and then I began working at my church. And that's really how I started to get involved in local government, is through the church association and volunteering. That's when I first met Marcia. It's how I met some of the other council members and became very involved. And my desire to move on to the county, it's not because I haven't been enjoying what I do. I love being mayor. I love being a part of this community. I love that people call me, ask questions, stop by my house. That is joy to me. I just saw that there was a need for fresh lens at the county level. I felt that there was a time to come together to take things to a next level where I can advocate, just like I do now, for my community. I've worked hard to build relationships at Right Pat. There's one piece of advice that you gave me years ago, is if Right Pat invites you to something, you say yes. And I have always done that and worked hard to do that, to the point that I have friends now. The most recent commander at the base comes to my house, came to our 4th of July fireworks, and spent time in my home, because I recognize, one, those relationships are important. When people are here to embrace, they're here for a short time, so we need to really embrace them as people and help them succeed in this community. But also because that base relationship is a huge part of our economic development in this area. 38,000 people inside the fence alone, let alone the defense contractors outside of that. So being in relationship, showing that Greene County is a great place to be, it's a great place to live, that we have a lot of different options for schools, that there are different communities that meet different needs. Our faith community is a huge part of that, and introducing the people that are coming to the base to our faith community. So it's been a joy to build those relationships and continue to push Greene County to the top level for Right Pat. I'm heavily involved with the Dayton Development Coalition and pushing that relationship. I meet with them at least quarterly to see what's coming down the pike, what jobs are coming, what businesses are coming. How is the move with Honda affecting us? What do we need to be doing? Finding out that, hey, the head of HR for the Honda plant that's being built is already living in Xenia. Bought a house here. So what do we need to be doing as a community to help them succeed? Seeing that relationship build with our schools, with our career center, with Clark State. I'm on the foundation board at Clark State, making sure that our students are getting the right certifications so they can have great careers staying here in our community and building into that. So those are the types of things I'm excited about. I'm excited to help push us into be a more a working together community when it comes to things like dispatch. all of us, every community in Greene County, really beyond, feels a shortage in workers in our dispatch and our 911 call centers. So how can we do better? We're starting meetings together of how can we consolidate? How can we make sure that we are complementing each other and not repeating the same thing, because we're pulling from the same pool of people, not to mention the cost as next-gen equipment is needed, required. So how do we save our taxpayers money when we're actually coming together and working together? These are some of the things that have motivated me and have really pushed me to say, you know what, I want to go to that next level. I get a reset because I get to talk about very briefly, it's at the end of your program, but I do want to mention really quick that Xenia has a renewal. This is mayor hat, so that was campaign hat. Right. This is mayor hat. Xenia has a renewal on the ballot. This is something that started in 1959. So we have never not passed this renewal. It is very important to what we do. In the fellowship hall out there, I did leave the communicator that came to, I believe, everybody's mailbox, but it does have information about the renewal, about the millage on there. Roughly for a $100,000 home, roughly $21. This started in 1959. It is a small portion of our budget, but it is an integral portion, about $500,000, and that goes to our general fund, helping with police, fire, roads, things that we constantly need to be putting more money to. So I'm here to ask, please vote yes on this renewal. People, I know that we, including myself, all feel the heaviness of the property tax. This is not being affected by this. This valuation has stayed since about that year. So even though the inflation has gone up and those taxes have gone up, what we get is set. So that has not gone up. That does not change. So you're not paying extra and more is coming to us. It is set. So I would ask that you please vote yes on this renewal. And again, if you have questions, please reach out to me. I would be happy to get into the weeds on this. But that was my 2-minute blurb of, let's renew this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Mayor Mays, I should say. Does anyone need a card to write questions? Okay, because the ushers have cards, and so if you feel you want to have a question, they'll see that you get one. Okay, next up is our sheriff, and that is Scott Anger, and I know he has to leave as well. We appreciate anybody taking time to come out, and we'll take as much time as you can give us. Scott.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Pastor. Thank you, Ms. Bayless. Again, she's taught me a lot, and her mother taught me a lot in the 4th grade when I was at McKinley after the '74 tornado. So we go way back. And Sonny Saunders over here, she's given me orders many, many times as a chief secretary. So again, I'm very humbly here to be your sheriff. A lot of you know me. I have a lot of friends in here, and I really appreciate all the support that you give me in the last 3 years. It's been kind of surreal after losing Sheriff Fisher very suddenly. So again, been very, very busy the last 3 years. I'm very thankful. This has been a God's plan. It really has. And I'm very thankful and humble to get to do what I do. So I grew up, I could say that I, like a lot of cliche, I'm not a politician, okay? I grew up, I went to Xenia High School, went in the Army. I worked federal in the Army, so then I worked for the State Patrol as a dispatcher for 2 years, and then I was 30 years on Xenia Police Department before I retired. Then I was working as a drug task force commander for 5 years, and then I became chief deputy for a very short time. And I had to go through 2 election cycles, and thankfully I am unopposed. So again, thanks everybody for their continued support, and it's been great. One of the things I do pride myself in is my relationships. I think that's what it's all about. I think that's the reason I'm able to do the job daily that I do, is because I've built good relationships over 40 years. And in December, I'll be in law enforcement for 40 years. And so it's something that I still have a passion for, but my biggest title that I have is husband, father, and grandpa. So sometimes you can get too busy, and sometimes you got to really keep that in balance. So I really have to keep that in line with my faith and getting better in that area. But community outreach is something I've really tried to do. So I'd like to just say to everybody that we do have an app, and it is something that I am proud of that we do have, that you can put on your Android or Apple phone. Greene County, Ohio Sheriff's Office has a lot of things, resources on there. And talking about dispatch, that's just one way we can get good information out to people without maybe them having to call dispatch. It has all kinds of weather-related, road closures, jail information, sexual offender information, all that kind of stuff that you might want, that you might have to call dispatch for, but maybe you don't want to call dispatch. And everybody does everything on their phones. So if you could just know that we have that app, and tell us if there's something that you think should be on it that's not. Has crisis intervention stuff on it. Anything you can imagine that we can put on it, we'd like to put on it so we serve our people best. I'm a sheriff that believes in victims and taking care of victims. I'm very lucky that we have a county that has great victim advocacy. And we have, I do feel like we have great judges. A couple of them are in the room here. But I feel like we're blessed. I wouldn't want to be sheriff everywhere. I grew up in Greene County. I went to school in Greene County, met my wife in Greene County. So it's a privilege to just get to do what I'm doing. The challenges that we have going forward are recruiting, as everybody knows. I think we're doing pretty good. Yesterday, I sat down with the corrections officer that made number 74, so we're going to be fully staffed in corrections for the first time in 15 years. So I'll be swearing him in a couple weeks. So we're doing fairly well there, but next year we're going to hit a wave of retirements. And even though I'm not able to do what I do without the dream team, my command staff is awesome. They're the ones that help me get through. The problem is that none of us are super young. So what we're doing is we're trying to really work on succession planning. I'm trying to get my command and my younger people as trained up as they can, because if nobody knows it better than me, we don't know when anything's going to happen. So that's very, very important to me. So we're going to be building a new administration and jail that a lot of you know about. I'd love to come talk to anybody about that anytime I've been around talking about it. I do have some art renderings of that now. We're actually going to be in our new building for the administrative side, the patrol, the detectives, the coroner's office, by the end of next July. I'd like to say that the new jail portion will open around about November 1st of next year. And the thing about the jail, a lot of people don't understand, the jail is really important. A lot of people think, well, it's a jail. We don't want to put people in jail. Some people say they don't care about the jail, but me, when you talk about the people that have to work in the jail, the people that have to live in the jail, and really why people are in the jail, one of my dreams is that we can have some programming, finally have the space to do some programming for people while they're in the jail. So that's one of my visions, and that's coming to fruition. So the physical part of it's going to be coming soon. We're going to continue to work on that. So again, I want to thank Dr. Marcus for allowing me to come tonight. And she said, talk a little bit about the sheriff's office. I am going to leave you. I got to say, this is our annual report. We do an annual report every year. I'll leave that here. It tells all about our sheriff's office. I'm very proud to say that our agency's been nationally accredited since 1993. Only 5% of the agencies in the country are accredited. And this year we are accredited with excellence, and only 5% of that 5% are with excellence. So this is I'll leave this. I have some cards I left with Dr. Marcus. So anybody, please feel free to send me a question and call me anytime. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't see Craig, I don't think. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I do see Joe Kennedy, for recorder. Please come forward. How are you? Good.
Well, I wasn't nervous, thank you, until the first 15 minutes before I showed up, and I think I figured out why, is I am truly humbled to be here in front of people that I've looked up to, and some of those that chose to choose me as I ran in March. And ultimately, I'm humbled to be here in front of God, who I acknowledge as my Lord and Savior, and I say that because I can't do any of this without him, and I mean that. And got a long road, hopefully, ahead, and enjoy the walk. Not always walking in the right path, but always try to come back. So it's important to me. So I wanted to talk about that first, and also my family. Let me introduce myself to you first. My name is Joe Kennedy. I'm running for Greene County Recorder, and I am the current recorder. Greene County is retiring. His name's Eric Sears. He's a great guy, and I really just appreciate the impeccable work that he left me with in the recorder's office, because that's what I'm running for. So I just wanted to talk about my God, and then the other important things in my life, which is my family. I'm married to my wife Kim, 17 years. We've got 2 boys, 14 and 11. And also, just so you know, this is my first time in politics, so it's been a very eye-opening experience. So I love the people. Politics, I don't know, but we'll see. But yeah, like I said, I'm Joe Kennedy. So I wanted to first talk about that, and then secondly, my schooling. I want to tell you a little bit about my schooling background. My educational background is in business marketing and management from the University of Kentucky, and a bachelor's in organizational leadership from Wright State University. I've had over 20 years experience in the real estate industry, which, if you know much about the recorder's office, it's pretty heavy in the real estate field, so I'll tell you a little bit more about that as I continue on through this talk here. So I wanted to second talk a little bit about why the recorder's office is important. Our recorder's office, if you haven't been there before, is, among other things, is our standard for accurate keeping of some of our most valuable tangible assets. And this is important to me, our ability to build a life and future many times includes the ownership of assets, namely real estate. The recorder's office ensures a complete, accurate, and permanent record of these things. I was in there working today. Eric's been nice enough to let me shadow him and be in there. And these people that keep track of these things, it's verified, and it's verified, and it's verified, and it's really something to see. So this is why we can build a life here in the United States, because we can know that those ownership things are there and they're in a safe place. The office is vitally important to one's ability to do this and attract future generations. As Sarah said, this is our county. We're proud of this place. I'm, a little especially proud of Xenia, but it's just because I'm from here. Everybody's got that. But if elected, I will take great pride and honor in performing this task and other duties of recorder. One thing is for sure, under my watch, the office will never stop improving. And then why me? I want to tell you what I've done with my life and why I chose recorder's office. I have a strong real estate background. I've been a licensed real estate agent for over 10 years, but also have been managing real estate on the commercial level for over 20 years. Anything from buying property, selling property, negotiating leases, determining the current market, and working with clients from a wide array of different backgrounds, businesses, and nationalities have formed me into the person I am today. And I did that along with my best friend who passed 3 years ago, my dad, Jim Kennedy. You might know him. If you're a Xenia person, you may have shopped at Kennedy's grocery store. So luckily, I got to work with him, spend time with him, and learn so much from him. Wish I could talk to him today, but that's how it goes. So second, I'm a person that enjoys working with people. During my 43 years, I had to cross this out. This is my earlier speech as I age. I've operated several businesses, all centered around people, which is, this is who's coming in the recorder's office. The office also requires the ability to listen and learn from your staff, which I learned today more and more. People in the business and the cooperative government agencies and make all this work for you, the citizen. I'm honored to be endorsed by all 3 Greene County commissioners, Treasurer Craig Hagler, and along with many other people in our community. So that's all I have, and excited to hang out with you afterwards and talk some recorder talk. So, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Joe. And now from the judicial part, the candidate, we have Mrs. Amy Lewis, Common Pleas Court, Juvenile Division.
All right, thank you all for having me here today. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and speak a little bit about juvenile court. I've been there since 2000, but every single day I can promise you I get up and I appreciate it just like the first day that I started working there. But I want to start off first with what's most important to me, and I want to recognize my family. My husband Ron and I have been married for 32 years. I was his peer advisor in law school, and it worked out pretty well because we got married a short time later. And then we have 4 children, and we're grandparents too. We're going to have a 2-year-old grandson, and despite our best efforts to have lots more grandkids, talking to our kids, it hasn't happened yet. But I want to get back to juvenile court. I started off as a magistrate, and then I became a court administrator, and then in 2021, I was appointed by the governor to be the juvenile judge, and this is the 3rd time since then I have had to run. And fortunately, this year, I'm unopposed, and I appreciate that, but I feel like it's important not to take for granted the fact that I've been given this opportunity to be the judge, and I have to earn everyone's votes. Even if it's 12 years from now, I need to make sure that I take the opportunity to make sure you all understand what we do in juvenile court. And you would be surprised to know about the various operations of the court. You might think, oh, there's a detention center, people come to court when they have issues and they're resolved. There's so much more than that. Yes, we have a detention center, and we're one of the 11 community correctional facilities around the state. But we also have an assessment and intervention center, and those are the 2 of the things I'm most proud about. Because when we look at the kids that come before the court, we look at each and every child as if they were my child. And if this was my child, how would I want to address their issues? So we look at the barriers that they have in place. In our assessment center, we're trying to work with kids in the front end so they don't come into court. We don't want them to be charged and then to be brought into detention. And once the research shows kids are brought into the system, they come back over and over. So we're trying to meet these families before the problems really escalate. We are nationally known, our assessment center. We get the opportunity to present and to show our model here. And I can assure you, it takes a team to have our assessment center run well. When we opened up, Attorney Marietta was a big part of our opening of our assessment center and ensuring that the public knew about it and bringing parties together, because we have a lot of volunteers. We have people who come in and they will do homework with our kids. We have a greenhouse at our assessment and intervention center where the kids grow all kinds of vegetables and they donate them. I remember one of the things my minister was telling me was how important it is for kids to feel like they're a part of the solution in our community. They are giving back. They're not the problem. So our kids will donate to one bistro. They will donate over to churches, to the food pantry, and they feel really good about themselves. And this year we had different types of salsas and hot sauces. They made the labels, they canned it, and it was pretty impressive. But anyway, our assessment team, they work with schools, law enforcement. It can be a community member. It can be a neighbor. You can refer them to our assessment center. And we have a group of people who immediately wrap services around these kids, including a mental health counselor who's there full time. Our intervention center, we pick up kids after school and then we take them home. We do homework with them. We have individual counseling, group counseling, role playing. We have a washer and dryer. You think, well, what's the big deal about that? A lot of our kids, they don't have clean clothes, or they may not have water running. We have a clothes closet, and kids can get clothes and go home. But the biggest thing, think about what those kids like the best about the intervention center. It's the meals. When we have the exit interviews, that's always number 1. That and Manny's greenhouse is number 2. But we send food home with the kids because they just don't simply have enough. So we try to meet the needs of these kids. And for instance, the truancy kids, why aren't they going to school? Well, it might be because you're babysitting kids at home, or you don't have the right supplies, or you need glasses and you just simply can't see. So our intervention center will work with these kids over a period of time. And then one of the things the sheriff talked about, saying it's the warm handoffs. We're looking for community members to be the warm handoff so that when kids are done at our court, we provided all kinds of services, we can connect them with community members. And that's a big part of our probation transformation right now. We go around the state, and we've even gone outside of the state of Ohio to talk about some of our new programs, because other courts are starting to implement them, as well as Juvenile Detention Alternative Initiative. In the old days, it was very draconian if you were on probation. So I'm done with my time. I want to refer you to my website at Juvenile Court. We have an annual report, and it goes back. and it shows a little bit about what we do and all of our programs, and we keep data, we make data-driven decisions, so please check it out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amy. And now we have representatives to Congress, 10th District, Amy Cox, Democratic candidate. Nope. Okay. Michael Harbaugh, non-party candidate.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. And it's a lot to get around to a lot of these forums. I missed two myself in Montgomery County, last week, so it's understandable that Amy's not here. Not a surprise that Mike Turner's not here, right? Okay, good. Well, I'm glad at least we have a rep here. And but that's part of the reason why I decided to run for office is due to this, seemingly lack of representation, by our elected candidates. But before I go into that, I'm a food truck owner, and this is my first time running for office. Me and my wife have been working full-time in our food truck for the last 4 years. We're called the Wild Banana. If you've ever seen us around town, we sell smoothies and smoothie bowls. And first time ever running for office. I am a proud father of a type 1 diabetic toddler, so we have a full-time, we take care of him full-time. So I'm a busy guy. And then running for office, I owe my wife a lot of credit for, I'm cashing in every single brownie point with her, as I tell people. But the reason why I decided to run for office, especially as an independent candidate, not as a Democrat or Republican, is that I feel that the trust in the overall American citizens is lacking with the two major political parties. We have been sold out time after time after time by our political leaders to the rich and the powerful, and I think that the working class people were just, they want something different. They want to know, I think Congress is polling at like 10% approval rating, when you ask the general public. So there's huge systemic problems with our elected leaders right now. My grassroots campaign, is attempting to restore some trust. That's why I'm only accepting small dollar donations to my campaign, $200 maximum, so I'm not being bought and sold by anybody. I'm running as an independent candidate, so I don't have party leaders, telling me in my ear what to do or anything like that. So people know I'm running on the issues, and that's that. I'm also decided, when I decided to run, that politicians, they should be in this for the issues and the people, not for the money. And so if I am elected, knock on wood, here November 5th, I'm pledging to donate a large chunk of my congressional salary to charities and local nonprofits, $50,000 of $170,000 is what they pay you here. So if I could take 50 off, I would be still, just fine, and I'd be happy to give that back. So I've had a simple theory with running for office is that actions speak louder than words. Politicians, they can sing you a sweet lullaby to bed and, the best poets, but do their actions really back up what they're talking about? And so that was my one simple theory of if I'm running as an independent candidate, that I need to gain the trust of the general public through actions. So I have run an entire year full of grassroots campaigning where I am on the ground in our cities, in our community, even outside of the district, putting actions to words. I've been to Washington, D.C. I'm a very big peace candidate, so I've been to Washington, D.C., and we've gone up inside Bernie Sanders' office. I'm asking for him to call for a ceasefire in the war in Ukraine. That was 5 days before October 7th happened. I've been up to East Palestine, Ohio, where that toxic train derailment happened about 1.5 years ago. I was up there at a town hall with Aaron Brockovich and talking to the media out there and speaking out, advocating for people. I've been down to the picket lines with the UAW workers and people, as they've been protesting. Also with the people in Amazon in Cincinnati, they're trying to start a union down there at Amazon's largest North American facility right now. So I've been on the picket line, with the workers down there. I recently just got back from North Carolina. The terrible flooding that happened down there. The people on social media were crying out, they're not getting enough government assistance. The government's nowhere to be found, to be honest. I collected through my food truck and then just local businesses. We filled up my entire I have a short school bus. We filled up the entire thing with donations here from the Dayton area, and I drove it down there last week. I also was able to drop it off at a National Guard disbursement center, and then I was able to stick around for the next day and go and volunteer my time in labor at the town of Marshall, North Carolina. That town was under 16 feet of water, and it was just terrible. But we were there a week and a half after it, and I was digging mud out, from these basements and stuff like that. So I'm proud to serve, and I'm here for action. Looks like I got about 30 seconds left. Some things that I'm running on is feeding kids high-quality, nutritious school lunches in school, investing in education and teachers. I'm a big peace candidate. I think we need to pay our active duty soldiers and veterans more. But the elephant in the room is we've got to reduce some of this wasteful military spending. And over my course of getting 4,500 signatures just to get my name on the ballot, so many people out at the base agreed with me and signed to get me on the ballot. So please check me out, harbaughforcongress.com, and I'll be sticking around and talk with everybody after this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we have the Republican candidate representative from Congress representing Mike Turner's office, Regina Holman.
Thank you. Well, thank you guys for allowing me to be here. I grew up as an AME, and so it's kind of like almost being at home. My grandmother was the president of what they call the stewardess board at the time. So I remember being like 8 years old, pouring grape juice in the little cups and getting in trouble for trying to take my own sips and things like that. But eventually, I went away to college and I took my first job at Wilberforce University, which was right down the street. And unfortunately, my grandmother didn't live to see that, but she would have been very proud to see me working at an AME school. I'm here today to tell you my why. Like I said, my name is Regina Holman. I am the district representative for Congressman Mike Turner. And the reason why I work for Congressman Turner is about 30 years ago, I'm going to say I was about 16, Mayor Mike Turner came to me and said, Regina, there's an issue at the Dayton International Airport, and I'm told that you're the person that I need to send out there to take care of it. It'll only take you 6 months. So I said, okay, I'll do that. Went out to the airport. Unfortunately, Mike Turner, mayor, became Congressman Mike Turner. I was still at the airport. 16 years later, I retired from the Dayton International Airport. On my day of retirement, Congressman Mike Turner comes to tell me goodbye and say good things at my retirement party. And he said, Regina, I have another project for you at the Dayton Veterans Administration. It'll only take you 6 months. That was 10 years ago. I'm still with Congressman Mike Turner. And I'll tell you the reason why is because everything we do for you. Congressman Turner is an advocate for education. He is an advocate for social justice. He is an advocate for Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Over the past several years, as you know, what we call earmarks or community project funding has come back. And over the past several years, we have been able to secure over $125 million in community project funding for our community. If you take nothing else from me today, remember, tenure matters. Tenure in the House of Representatives matters. Congressman Turner is a moderate, and that means that he works across the aisle. He works with Senator Brown. He works with other members of Congress to bring home all of the necessary funds that we need to make our community safe, grow, and to be proud. As you know, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base has grown over 18,000 jobs since he's been in Congress. And that's nothing to laugh at. Wanted to make sure that you understand that there are things that we do in our office. We take care of Social Security issues if you have any. We're responsible for helping you with IRS issues if you have any. We will help you with your passport issues if there are any. We are responsible to you on a daily basis. I enjoy working for the congressman. I will continue to work for him because I am the one that you get to see sometimes firsthand. I appreciate being here. And again, thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them. But one of the things like that you said, it's very important to pay attention to children. My granddaughter is in a play tonight, and I want to see it. She's in a play called The Other Story of Robin Hood. The position that she's performing in, I don't even understand that position, but I definitely want to see her tonight. So I thank you for your time. Thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of Congressman Mike Turner. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them because I think I have like 47 seconds left. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'll present our next moderator, Mrs. Karen Johnson Jordan, and she'll take over from here for a while.
Good evening, everyone. I have the opportunity to introduce to some and present to others the State Board of Education candidates that are running for office. And I would like to present to you now Hava Loudon, there's no answer. So I will introduce and present to others now Mary Benniger.
Good evening, and again, thank you for inviting me and letting me speak this evening. My name is Mary Benniger, and I'm running for the State Board of Education, District 5. That's about 16 counties within that district. It starts at Clark and Green and goes all the way down to the river. So it's a huge geographic area. When I was a senior in high school, I did fairly well and was active in high school, but as my senior year, I was walking down the hall, and my freshman home ec teacher saw me and said, "Mary, come here." And I said, "Yes." And she said, "What college are you going to next year?" And I said, "Oh, I'm not going to college. No one from my family has gone to college, and they don't have any funds to go to college, so I'm just going to get a job." And she said, "See me after school. We need to talk." Well, I met her that evening, and then several other evenings as the year went along, and she helped me figure out how to pay for a college education through work study scholarships, and made sure that I applied and that I got everything in on time. And because of her efforts, I ended up with my Bachelor of Science in Education from The Ohio State University, and I'm certified as a comprehensive social studies teacher, and then my Master's of Education, of Secondary Education from the University of Dayton, and achieved my certification in special education. So she taught me very quickly that education was a lot more than just imparting knowledge. It was also about making sure that we understand the aspiration of our students and help them find the pathway to be able to achieve their dreams. That became my motto for the 35 years that I spent within education before I retired. When I look at my aspirations as far as being a Board of Education member, I have three things that I really want to see occur, and I think are important aspects of the job of the Board of Education. One of them is the fact that we need to do everything we can to support fair and full funding of public education. From my experience as a social studies teacher, I truly believe that our public education system is the very foundation of our democracy. When you consider that 90% of the students in the state today that attend schools are in public schools, then it makes us understand the importance of making sure that we have a well-educated citizenry to vote in the future. And that's a real important thing that we need to make sure that we fully fund those public education systems. The second thing I would really like to see is the fact that I really believe that we should have a highly qualified educator in every single classroom, no matter where it's located in the state. It's very important that we do all that we can to help our educators be able to fund professional development, to make sure they are meeting the needs of the students, to make sure that our licensure system really encourages people to keep growing and learning every single day. Education is a lifelong process. You never stop learning. So we need to make sure that as educators, we continue to do that because that's the model we want for our students. And then third, I want to make sure that we do everything that we can to retain and recruit educators for the state of Ohio. Currently, in most of our education colleges across the state, they are seeing fewer and fewer people apply for those programs. So it's really important that we do everything we can to make sure that we are helping people understand the various careers they can have in education, both working earlier with our students, even down at the middle school level, to talk about possible professions in education, and then all the way through. We also need to work to help our student teachers. There's a real financial burden when you go to do your student teaching your last year of school, usually, because you're still paying all tuition, plus you have to pay for $300 for testing, plus $45 for a special permit, plus your funding to just get back and forth to your school. And because you're working in the school all day long, it's very hard to hold second and third jobs while you're doing that. So we have a lot of students that drop out before they do their student teaching because of the economic effect. And also we need to do any kind of program that we can do to encourage others. That we have a lot of people that work in our schools that started their college education and for whatever reason weren't able to finish it, and now are working as paraprofessionals within the schools. There's a program out there that we need to keep encouraging that helps them to be able to finish their education so they can become fully certified educators. When I look at my qualifications, I've had 35 years of teaching, so I know the ins and outs of our education system. So that helps me. And also, right now, I currently serve as the Ohio Education Association retired chair, which means that I get to go across the state and meet with active teachers as well as retired teachers on a regular basis. I hear their concerns. I wish to be their voice. So thank you so much. My name is Mary Benniger. I'm running for the State Board of Education to go all the way to the end of the candidates. And make sure you vote, please. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to introduce the candidates that are running for the 10th District for the State Senator's position. At this time, I would like to call Kyle Kohler, a Republican, to the podium. I would like to call to the podium Dan McGregor, Democrat representative running for State Senator, 10th District.
Yes, my name is Dan McGregor. I'm the Democratic candidate for the 10th State Senate District, which includes all of Clark, Greene, and Clinton counties. Let me start with a quote from Senator Warnock out of Georgia, a United States Senator. A vote is a kind of a prayer for the world we desire for ourselves and our children. Another take on that is something that I have found for myself, which is the preamble of the Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, ensure domestic tranquility, establish justice, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States. I like to think of that as a kind of a prayer and a mission statement given to us by our founders almost 250 years ago. And if we abide by the call to action in there, in the preamble, we'll be fine. And if we stray away from it, then we're going to find ourselves in difficulties. So another element of the Constitution that's very near to me, and very near to me as a engineer and physicist, is the concept of checks and balances. That's a core property that we all learn about in our Constitution, U.S. Constitution, and it's also true for the Ohio State Constitution. And our checks and balances in the state of Ohio are under severe stress right now. To recall, checks and balances is how the executive, judiciary, and legislative branches kind of work against each other to prevent any particular branch from getting too much power. However, with the extreme gerrymandering we have in this state, the legislature can overrule any governor that any veto the governor puts up. And we saw 2 years ago during the redistricting commission's efforts to draw maps, how they blew off the Ohio State Supreme Court 7 times. So we are the only state in the country that has a current elected General Assembly under maps that were declared unconstitutional by the Ohio Supreme Court at the time of their election. That's rogue behavior, that's lawless behavior on the part of our existing legislature. And my campaign slogan is to bring balance back to Ohio. And by being a state senator, I intend to do that. I will do that. I will bring balance back to the state legislature. And I will advocate for honest dialogue between the Democratic side and the Republican side on all issues that are very important to the state. Now, among the most important of those issues that I will take on is school funding. Right now, under the school voucher system, that we have $750 million is flowing out of state funds to private schools under the voucher program with no accountability as to how that money is spent. They do not have the same standards for schools and for the teachers, for the and how the testing that's done, and the education and the educational curriculum is not the same as the public school system. And that $750 million cannot be audited, and therefore the state taxpayers have no real visibility into how that money is spent. And once elected to the state senate, I will remedy that. Other issues that are important to me are access to rural health care, which is under a lot of stress across the state right now, and renewable energy. One of the things that the Constitution talks about is securing blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. That means the generations behind us. And that's what Senator Warnock's prayer statement refers to as well. We are out of integrity with the generations behind us to the extent that we are not addressing climate change, the climate crisis. We just had 2 extremely large hurricanes hit the coast. It's only going to keep increasing. The amount of water that's carried in those hurricanes is massive. The flooding will be devastating going forward. So these are very important issues to me. So once again, my name is Dan McGregor. I'm running for the state senate seat in District 10. Feel free to visit my website at ohioformcgregor.com. Thank you very much.
I have 2 more. At this time, I would like to call to the podium candidates that are running for state representative, the 71st District. On the Republican ticket, Mr. Levi Dean. On the Democratic ticket, Ms. Krista McGaugh.
Good evening. Thanks so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. I am a Methodist minister's daughter and the daughter of a public school teacher. I did not have the privilege to grow up in this part of the state. My dad was in the East Ohio Conference of the United Methodist Church, but I grew up in a series of small towns in rural counties in Ohio, and I loved it. It was a wonderful way to grow up. I enjoyed the freedom that I had. I went to grade school in McConnellsville in Morgan County. I was able to just wander around and really kind of get to know the people downtown. Mr. Lovell would give me a quarter on Saturday morning down at the menswear store. It's a great way to live. I really love this way of life, and that's why I moved to the area. My husband was teaching at the Dayton Adult Degree Completion Program of Capital University, and I had been working in Columbus for some time, and our daughter was about to start the school, and she was 5 years old, and I envisioned driving her to a magnet school on the other side of town, and that's no life for children. So one of Andy's colleagues said, check out Yellow Springs. He was from Yellow Springs, and he had sent a lot of students to Andy's program from Sinclair. And by golly, we visited, we made an appointment with a realtor that day, and we had a contract on a house that afternoon. No regrets. 27 years later, I not only expect to be here the rest of my life, but I've brought my parents here, 91 years old. They live at Friends Care Community, and my mother-in-law as of this summer at 94. It really is where our heart is. It's where our center is. And this district is very special to me because after a career in the mental health field, I got a chance to work for Tecumseh Land Trust with Clinton County, rural Greene County, and rural Clark County. And that's the District 71. I'm especially motivated about running at this time because all of those small towns I grew up in, and I'm hearing the same thing in Jamestown, in Xenia to some extent, although the plans are very good for Xenia, that there's lots of losses. People aren't making as much money relatively as they used to. Healthcare isn't as accessible, isn't as good, especially in the rural places. And that is so important. I found out today, there's 13 rural counties in Ohio that are maternal deserts. There is no maternal health care available within that county. We can do better by our rural places, and I think it's tremendously important to do that. Healthcare, education, and absolutely that access to a decent quality life, being able to be a part of the middle class. We need to get more jobs to our rural areas. We really need to make that difference. Additionally, for the next generation, and hopefully those after that, we need to take care of Mother Earth. We are not doing what we need to do. The extreme weather is certainly an example, and this is a bountiful place. Ohio, in a thirsty world, has water. You know, we have got underground water that is a precious resource given to us by the Creator. We need to take care of that. And we're not doing as good a job as we ought to do. Fracking is an extreme danger to water. There's all kinds of pollution sources that, you know, certainly the derailment, that kind of thing can happen very quickly and really spoil our greater resource. Also, we're not really protecting water rights in the way that we ought to, and that's something I'd really look forward to working on in the legislature. We need to make sure that we protect that precious resource for Ohioans of the future. I have had a career working mental health and conservation, trying always to bring people together to do the best job for the people in our communities. I make connections. I pull things together. I have a record of pulling millions and millions of dollars into Ohio, federal, state, and local, as well as private contributions to make good things happen in our community. So I look forward to bringing those skills and that experience to Ohio, and it's been a pleasure to campaign in Xenia. I've talked to a lot of wonderful people here. I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks.
I would like to thank the candidates that came to the podium under my call. And at this time, I'm going to introduce to you Mrs. Atriva Vaughn, who's going to discuss the issues or present the issues, or the candidates talking about the issues. And I approve this message. Thank you, Karen. And I was so excited. I was ready to jump up here early, to get to all the issues so that we could all hear about them. So I'm happy to be bringing you the speakers that will be talking for the last thing on the program this evening, which are our issues. And so the first proposed issue that we have is the constitutional amendments. And we have Jennifer Marietta, who will be addressing that this evening. Okay.
Good evening. So my name is Jennifer Marietta. I'm an attorney here in Greene County. I don't belong to any lobbying organizations or anything like that. I'm just an attorney who's good at reading and understanding the law. I often find that my friends and family ask me to explain what something says, and so I will just explain it to them, and that's what I'm here to do tonight for you. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about issue 1. Can I just get some head shakes about whether or not we're familiar with what the concept of gerrymandering is? Okay, good. So I don't have to do a ton of background on that. So I will also point out that the League of Women Voters Guide actually does a really good summary as well. So if you have follow-up questions after I'm done, you can talk to me, but also that's an excellent guide. So I think the thing that makes the most sense is I'm going to try and use my remaining time to just talk about what it would look like if it were actually implemented. So the first thing that would happen if issue 1 passes is that there would be a judicial panel that would essentially be created to start screening candidates for a commission. So first things first is there's a 4 ballot board member in the state of Ohio that the Secretary of State is also part of, but he wouldn't be part of this committee. And then they would each select essentially 8 potential judges to be on the committee. This is going to get real hairy, I know. It's going to be not fun. And then, so there would be 8 from each party, and then after that, they would come together and they would have a meeting, and then eventually they would get to a process where they have 2 judges from one party and 2 judges from another party, and that would be their screening panel. Then they would begin opening up applications for who would actually be on the commission. Initially, they would also use a professional services sort of screener and vetter. Think about somebody that would screen for public sector jobs. So somebody would be checking for civilians that would be working on base or in any sort of federal organization. So you'd have one of those organizations involved as well, and they would be doing background checks and gathering disclosures and all that original information for the potential candidates. They would also be doing video interviews. At that point, the commission would select a pool of 90 candidates that they would first look at, and then that 90 candidate pool would be subject to public comment. So that information would be available publicly, including a lot of that background information. It'd be on websites. Everyone could look at it. That pool then gets weeded down to 45 candidates, and then from that 45 candidate pool, the screening panel actually will randomly select 6. So those first 6 members of the commission are selected randomly from that pool of 45 that it's been weeded down to. Then those 6 commission members have a meeting, and then they pick the remaining 9. And in the end, what you end up with is a commission of 15 people. You get 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans, and 5 nonpartisan or independent. So you have a 15-person commission that exists. Now, none of the people in that commission can be candidates for elective office or have been in an elected office position for the previous 6 years. So I myself would be disqualified from eligibility because I was on the school board until 2020-21. Also, anyone on that commission cannot run for office for the 6 years after their service on the commission. So the goal is really to have independent people doing our districting. Right now, the way it works is that the parties in power are the ones that draw the maps. It's not a great idea. We've had a lot of unconstitutional maps. So we're trying to get it back to something neutral. So once that commission exists, they have to do a lot of work. They work with a firm that also looks at a lot of data. They want to be as neutral as possible, and they want elections to be fair. So they're going to look at the composition of voters in each area. They're going to look at data from past elections. They're going to create sort of a median set of how voting works, and they're going to try and draw maps that are no more than 3% one way or the other off of what that district tends to vote. They're going to consider the cultural compositions of areas. They're going to consider geographic compositions of areas. There's not supposed to be any weird maps. Oh, see, we're only at 55 and I'm not very far. There's also going to be special masters that'll be on deck. So there will be attorneys that are on deck to review those maps as well if there's challenges. Once a final map is decided on, it gets submitted to the Secretary of State. There's a whole process for if they can't agree that goes on for a long time. And any election, any voter in the state of Ohio can actually object to that map within 10 days of that final map. And then the Supreme Court has original jurisdiction to review those maps as well. So I don't have a lot of time, but I just kind of want to explain. There's also a thing on the ballot about how they say that board members can't be removed for any reason except by vote of the commission, and that's a little bit misleading because actually what happens is that commission doesn't exist for like a lifetime. That commission gets appointed at, like, let's say December, and they only do their work until they draw their maps in July. And those maps are drawn every 10 years. So once they have their map and it's approved by the Secretary of State, they're done. You're not talking about like 4 or 5 year members that you can't get rid of. And they can be removed for things like neglect, not filing proper disclosures, misconduct, and then they would have public hearings on that and they would vote to remove those members and then fill them through that same 45-person pool that you've already developed and vetted. So anyway, I know that's really tedious. Please ask me questions about it. I also brought the amendment with me, so if you have questions and I need to look them up, I can. But the goal is no more gerrymandering by the people in power, but instead neutral groups. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Marietta. So next we have issue 18, which is the levy for the renewal of the Greene County parks. And the person who will be addressing that will be Rick Inman.
Good evening. My name is Rick Inman from Greene County Parks and Trails, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you guys tonight. And I want to talk a little bit about issue 18. To give you a little background, the Greene County Park District in 2015 went out for a levy, and we was fortunate enough to get the levy, and we polled the community of what they wanted, what was most important to them. And their top items were restrooms, deferred maintenance, more seating in the parks, and more events and programs for like young folks up to seniors. And just this year alone, we've served over 8,000 in our programs and events. We also have 32 parks, 62 miles of bike paths, which we have to maintain. That's all the seal coating and the resurfacing of them. And issue 18 is based on 2015 home values. So it's not an increase. It's a 0.9 mil for 5 years, and it would start in 2026. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Inman, and I'm thankful for that Caesars Ford RV park that you have out there. So I can't wait to use it. Okay, so right now that brings us to our questions, and we will have Mrs. Anjanette Coleman and Ms. Cheryl Griffith. So I do believe everyone has a little white card. If you have some questions, they'll be coming around, and you can hand that to them, and your questions will be addressed.
Good evening. I just received my first one. It's a book. Anyway, good evening, and thank you for attending this evening. We prepared. I said, I'm going to need someone to help me to read all those questions.
I'm sorry, Amy Cox.
No.
She just said she just came.
We're all right.
She just
They she won't take care.
Okay, Pastor told me to say so.
Okay, issue 1 is an attempt to prepare and gerrymandering, but not the only issue affecting our election. How can we make sure all candidates get a fair chance, even independents? Your thoughts. Who did you want this directed to? To the state candidates. Any state candidate?
I think one of the things that's possible to undo the lock that the two parties have on the system writ large is to introduce ranked, excuse me, folks, introduce ranked choice voting, which is very doable and has been tried in various parts around the country. The state of Alaska uses ranked choice voting to select their congressperson, and I believe the state of Maine does as well. And the way ranked choice voting works is the voters have an opportunity to state an order of preference among candidates, not just selecting one candidate. So what that does is it creates competition for the second place votes and decreases the amount of rancor that can happen during the election process. As a state legislator, as state senator, I would advocate for finding ways to introduce ranked choice voting into Ohio elections. That might take some time to get people used to how it works and the various levels, but over a period of time, perhaps 4 or 5 years, I think it could make its way up into state contest. And certainly, as a candidate for a state office, I would be more than happy to compete for that seat under that guideline.
Corruption in this state is notorious. I hate that Ohio is now known for the Larry Householder, House Bill 6 bribery scandal. We need to make some changes in Ohio. We absolutely do. And I think ranked choice is something worth looking into for sure. I believe in looking to best practices, whatever it is that I'm doing, whatever I am working for on behalf of the people of Ohio. I want to see, how's it working other places? We don't have to repeat anything exactly the way that anybody else does, but I think that there are some very good models to look at, and that should be a bipartisan issue. So I'm really looking forward to being in the State House and having a chance to look at the alternatives and to try to choose what's best for the people of Ohio. And I think that's what the voters want and what they deserve too. Thanks.
Good evening. This is more or less a comment, not so much as a question. It's candidate for State Representative District 71. The comment reads, your opponent has no experience, did not make a significant contribution in 5 years on the Xenia City Council. Did you want to?
I really have barely met my opponent, and so I don't have a whole lot to say about him. I just have to say that I do have a lot of experience. I never thought I was going to run for office, let me tell you. All of the public service work I've done, I really enjoyed doing it. But again, it got to a point where I felt like many of us, most of us, are not being represented by our legislature. Now, I've been following Bill Dean's career. That's Levi's dad. I don't know at all that he's going to follow through the same policies. But we don't know too much else about him. So I'm disappointed that he hasn't really shown up so far, responded to candidate questionnaires. And I think that's a problem for me as a voter. If somebody's not willing to show up, that is a very discouraging thing. Thanks.
Okay, this one goes to Jennifer Marietta. This one's, are there any other states that have anti-gerrymandering statutes? If so, how is that working? What are the pitfalls?
I don't know. I'll look it up.
All right, there's several questions here regarding the parks. Do the 32 parks include all of those large signs on the patches of grass? When is the Are our situation going to be addressed at the parks? What or other facilities are in the works for the children and families for the parks? So question 1 is, do the 32 parks include all of the large signs on the patches of grass? I can give it to you one at a time. Do the 32 parks include all of those large signs on the patches of grass?
Yes, yes, they do, yes. Yes, they do. What was the other one?
When is the RR situation going to be addressed at the parks?
I don't know what situation.
Restroom?
Oh, the restrooms, we have some brochures back there in the back that shows what's coming and what we have already done in the parks.
What are the other facilities are in the works for children and families?
Well, our program team and the program and event team are always trying to come up with new events and programs for kids from 6 months old all the way up to seniors. So we were constantly making new programs and continuing some of the old ones.
Thank you. That's all the questions we have. Cheryl, it's your turn.
And I'm going to just make just a couple of sentences, and then I'm going to yield the floor to a candidate that just came in. And so I'm going to ask that we at least allow her 5 minutes to make remarks. At the end of this event, I do ask if all of you would come to the back. We have refreshments for you, and just take a minute and meet the community members who are here, and have a chance to network. So that ends my remarks, and so now I'm going to ask if we allow Amy Cox, who is a candidate for the congressional 10th district. So Amy, we'll give her 5 minutes. Thank you.
First of all, thank you for allowing me to speak. There was a little bit of miscommunication. I thought I was supposed to be here at 7, so I was all smiles right at 7. My name is Amy Cox. I'm a mom, I'm a teacher, and I'm a scientist. And recently, since I stepped away from teaching, I've been more of an activist and an organizer. And the reason for that is because during my years teaching in public schools, I got to see what policy did on the faces of the kids. And as a science teacher, you always ask questions. Why are things the way they are? Why are people and families not getting raises regularly? Why am I not getting raises regularly? This was what we called right to work policy. And I know a lot of you in here, raise your hand if you remember right to work. And you remember that fight, right? We kicked it out. Well, I live on the border of Ohio and Indiana in Preble County. And so I could teach in Indiana very easily. And so while I was teaching there, we went right to work. And it took about 3 years before we realized, hey guys, we're not getting raises. And when we aren't getting raises, what happens to the small businesses in the town that the biggest employer helps support? They close. And you see what that policy does. That is what trickle-down economic policy does to families. So that's how I got into politics. But since I've gotten into politics in 2019, they are now coming after our civil rights. They're coming after our reproductive rights. They're coming after everyone's rights to be who they want to be. And now they've kicked it back to the states. Well, I'm here because of state policy, which is right to work. And now this is national. And if you kick it back to the states, what if you're gerrymandered? We just sat in here and talked about issue 1. It doesn't matter what we say. If 75% of the legislature does what they want, they do what they want regardless of what we say. Are we going to sit here and do ballot initiative after ballot initiative? Those cost millions of dollars. every time we do that. So if we can't get straightened out at the national level on these issues, we are going to constantly, because we're lucky enough to bring ballot initiatives in this state, Indiana isn't, which is why I had to leave, pack my own parachute. So I started a business here in Ohio. If you have heard of Guided by Mushrooms, that is a cooperative that Dayton Co-op helped develop with us. And I'm one of the 4 owners, and we have 7 full-time salaried employees that we have built up in 5 years alone, and we are still expanding. So not only are we producing healthy food, but we are also cleaning the soil with our waste product. So I see what communities need. I see that we need help on the national level. And if we just get me in here, we are only within 5 percentage points in this race, guys. But you have to tell people who I am and that I'm a responsible person. And I will never stand up here and tell you lies and disrespect you. Because as a scientist and as a teacher, if I go out and give false information, does that look good on me? Does that look good on the community that I have been tasked with informing with good information? No, it makes us look silly. And I would never stand in here and tell you something that I cannot back up with data and with research. And so if you have me, I will stick up for what is right. I have always stuck up for people that can't speak up or won't speak up for themselves for whatever reason. As a teacher, I don't put up with bullies. I definitely didn't put up with bullies in administration who like to bully kids because of who they were, where they came from, and the color of their skin. I saw that with my own eyes. I know what is systemic in this country. My sister works in healthcare. I know what happens in healthcare. Ohio kicked off 500,000 people. A lot of them were kids. The federal government gave them $2 billion to keep people that were working in this state and children insured. The federal government. But the state has the ability to say, nah. So I am here to clean up the mess that they have made because they don't think policy through. They aren't using stats and real research. They're trying to get rid of research with book burnings. And I think we need a fighter from the working class in DC now. Mike Turner has had his chance. He's not listening to everyone. He is listening to some people, but he is not listening to us. He is not listening to families. And if you ask him how much groceries cost per week, he will not be able to answer. And that is my time. Thank you so much. I appreciate you waiting.
Final closing remarks will be by Dr. Reverend Dr. John Freeman. And just let you know. There's a question under the internet.
It's 9. There are 9 states that use independent commissions, and they're overall pretty happy about it. Citizens have reported that they're happier with the reform through the independent commissions rather than the politically like that. Sometimes there's political commissions, and sometimes they're by state party, but it's not.
Wow. This has been a very, very productive, energized gathering. To Pastor Cooper and to the entire United AME Church family. On behalf of the African American Ministerial Alliance, I'd like to thank you for hosting this, and I'd like to thank everyone that had thought it not robbery to come out to attend this evening's program. As a collective body of faith believers, our faith calls us to have empathy and to demonstrate our care for one another. Our coming together in events such as this one holds great promise and offers the opportunity to influence social outcomes that best fit all of us as a community. To advocate for and acknowledge the power of education and knowing more of the laws that govern our society and creating the opportunity to support a group of leaders, grow leaders with a redemptive heart and the courage to embrace the power of our collective humanity. One of my favorite scriptures is, I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord. Now, to the candidates and to those of us who will be voting, going up a hill requires energy. Going up a hill also strengthens you. But my offer to you today, as you said in your opening statements, trust in the Lord in all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Let us not let this event be the last one. Go forth. Let's grow together. Let's go together. And let's continue with God's grace. Good night.